Hey, welcome everybody to Retail Therapy, man. My name is Eszquire. I'm the host, and I'm here with Big Sam. Do they call you Big Sam?
Everybody call me Big Sam.
Everybody call you Big Sam. I was about to put Big Sam on the flyer, but I was like, do anybody else call him Big Sam?
Yeah.
Okay, Big Sam. Big Sam, who does so many things here in Pittsburgh.
Wait, we started already?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. But this my camera right there?
that's my camera. But
This
you can
one?
look at it.
Oh.
Yeah, they both rolling, man. Whichever one. I don't even know. Caden, do we have a specific one, or they both just on us? Do I look good in both of them?
Nah, I can answer that.
Do we? Nate, what you sniggling about?
He like, you look worse than me.
Sniggle hard as hell, like you ain't in the photo too. I look good. Okay. Well, shit. What we gotta do?
Who, me?
Is that more for him?
Appreciate you.
That one's for him. Okay. All right. We know that.
This mic situation.
All right. So retail therapy is going to be like a series of events that I plan on doing. That's going to allow me to kind of talk about some things in my life, connecting with people throughout my life. Sam is one of those people. Not only am I inviting you because you dope, man, but you are actually a really big part in the pivot of my growth. At the time we went on that cruise together, man, I was really going through a lot mentally and emotionally, man, and not being around a lot of black men that I could like embrace has been a struggle my whole life.
Man, you didn't embrace me on that cruise, bro. You better
man, you brought me alcohol. What you talking about? Embrace me.
I brought me alcohol. You stole it.
So I think we should start with that story. So me and Sam decided to go. I feel like there's so many levels to this story, man. Me and Sam decided to go on this cruise, man. So I love cruises. I've been on maybe like 10 or so of them. This was my first one actually on Royal Caribbean. And we went to Cuba. This was like a 3 or 4 day cruise to Cuba. Mm-hmm. It was like 14 of us.
More.
16 of us.
Like 16 to 18.
16 to 18 of us. 3 dudes and about 15 women. We all went on this
4
cruise.
dudes and 14 women. Because it's 2 couples.
It was 2 couples. Okay. Four. And so we met in Miami. I drove down to Florida. Well, it was a nice drive, man.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
It was so peaceful. Now at this age, I'm older now. I probably wouldn't. No, it's cool. Y'all kind of loud as shit.
See what I'm saying?
No, but yeah, probably at this point in my life, I don't think I would. Man, I think over 4 hours driving is too much for me now. Mm-hmm. Like I would drive to Detroit, but I'm not willingly driving to Chicago. That's too far now. But Florida was a nice one, and we went on a cruise to Cuba, man. And again, man, I'm going through some things, man. At this time, I was in a marriage that I shouldn't have been in. But you know, we'll go into that more later, man. And I remember just trying to understand myself and why I was making the decisions that I was making, because I realized it was me making these decisions. And I remember being on a cruise. And the woman that I was with, she called me, and I was like, I ain't even doing shit. What's up? What? So I answered the phone, and she had went through my Gmail, not my Gmail. She went through my message or something and found where I was talking to this girl. And I was like, what? Why the fuck do you care? Because literally, the biggest reason why we didn't work, and why I say that, you know, for me, the biggest reason was we should have been friends. I feel like, you know, me understand a lot of my life I pursued relationships when I should have understood how to have healthy friendships, and I didn't do that. And so she, and it was the same way with the women that I was attracting. She was, you know, she had a bunch of dudes, and I'm like, if I don't care, then why are you tripping like this? And it just made me realize that these are the people that I kept attracting, and these are the people that I would run from. And I remember even talking to a few of the women on the cruise, and I was like, man, what do you do in this situation? And just trying to get advice and really thinking. And I remember being in my room, and I was just in the bed, just like, damn, man, we get back, I gotta make some changes. I gotta just processing life. And I leaned over the bed, and I know there's sometimes people smuggle stuff on cruises like alcohol. And when they smuggle it, they hide it because you're not supposed to have it in your room. And so I look over and like tucked away is like this full bottle of Crown Apple. And I'm like, oh shit, we just got we hit the jackpot. I might even text Sam like, bro, we got liquor. I was like, and I don't know if I text you right away or if I waited till we got to the, when did I tell you that we found this? I remember being super excited when I told you about it.
I think I came to the room. He was like, bro, guess what? I'm like, what's up? He was like, I found some liquor. You want some?
It was after I drunk some too already too.
And the bottle was half gone. The bottle was half gone. And he asked me, did I want some? And it pissed me off because I'm like, how's somebody going to ask me, do I want some of my own liquor?
No, bro, I was genuinely like, bro, God. I put us on. Like, I saved you half. I saved you half.
Of my bottle? Yeah, that's why I brought it.
Man, I was genuinely excited, bro. I thought you had no idea that bottle was there.
I was hot like fish grease. I was like, did he really just ask me, do I want some of my own bottle?
And then after I hysterically laughed, I was like,
and laughed.
Yeah. I was like, damn, man, I really did just drink his bottle. I was like, bro's probably pissed for real. That put me in a deeper depression. I was like, you know what? These motherfuckers at the comedy show, I'm like, I'm just gonna leave. And just everybody kept being like, where else gonna I go? It's like, I keep fucking up. I thought I had a reward for us to make up for the fuck ups. I fucked up even more. I'm just gonna dip off, man. Cuba was beautiful.
It was so crazy because everybody, all of us, was all in the karaoke spot, and you came down, and we was like, man, we about to do this. There's like, what you gonna? Where Eszquire go?
Yeah, I was shamed, man. I was shamed like a motherfucker, man. I get real good at escaping shit, man.
It was like you came in, sat down, and as soon as the pillow went down, it came back up, and you got up out the seat.
Yeah, gone.
It was gone.
Gone, yeah, gone.
And we had to go up on the Lido deck and find you with your speaker box pulled.
Hey, man, I forgot that one was.
You was up on the Lido dock. You was up on the Lido deck by yourself with that pill, listening to music, jamming.
Man.
And then I think we had we had an impromptu freestyle session.
Man.
Who was it? Me, you, and who was it? It was somebody else.
Was it? It wasn't. What's her name?
It was Nat.
Nat, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Nat. Yeah. She's got married. Shout out to Nat. For real. Yeah. She's got married. Her and Sid just got married, man.
Cedric.
That beautiful ass wedding, man.
Yeah, big country. They went to Aruba and got married.
Some play it wasn't Cuba. That shit was nice.
No, it was Aruba, yeah.
That shit was nice, man. Shout out to the married people, man, that stayed married. Oh, that was an amazing experience, man. I appreciate. I'm glad we went together, man. That was my first time really meeting you, and I remember they was telling me. I remember when Patricia was like, "Yeah, Big Sam's going." I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" She's like, "Yeah, Big Sam." I went in your. I was like, "All right, we rocking with it." So, man, I'm grateful for meeting you there, man. And
whatever.
I'm grateful for your kind donation
to your depression.
To my depressive shit. No, I appreciate it, man. I want to make sure I pay you back at Crown Apple. So shout out to Crown Apple and Big Sam. I would like for y'all to have some type of relationship of free alcohol for him. He deserves it.
So stupid, man. We had a good time though. One of the best times about that trip for me was, remember we was all on the beach?
Uh-huh.
And then at one point in time, everybody was just asleep.
Just knocked out. Just knocked out. I remember putting my toes in the sand, and it hit a spot. And I was like, oh. Bro, we were so tired, man.
Bruh.
Arguing and shit. When we got to the beach, though, oh, man, all that arguing and shit didn't matter. We was asleep.
It was a photo shoot first.
Damn, man. I forgot
Everybody
about
was
that.
in the water, out the water, playing in the sand, taking pictures, group pictures, individual modeling sessions. I'm running in the water, coming out of the water like a fat James Bond. We having a ball.
We got a photo too, though. A few photos. Yeah, we got a few photos.
Next thing you know, probably out of the 18 of us, it probably was 12 of us. And at one point, all 12 of us, I looked around. Everybody was knocked out on the beach, in the sun, not sunbathing.
Just sleep. Just sleep. No purpose. Just sleep.
Look, we was snoring in Spanish.
The sun felt like a blanket. I feel like the sun to me felt like a nice little blanket.
So it was hot, but it wasn't like blistering hot.
Man.
So it was perfect.
People wonder why I go on cruises, man. I was blessed to take my senior staff, Eszquire and Aaliyah, to Bermuda last year on a senior staff retreat on a cruise, man. And it gives you such a different perspective, especially if you live in a city. Like if you live in a city, like the river is not the beach. The Ohio, the Erie?
The Monongahela
is not the beach. It's not the islands.
Ocean.
It is a difference when you get off these ships and I see blue water.
Yeah.
Like clear blue water and you hear seagulls.
Different shades of blue too.
Different shades of blue.
That's the part. When you're on that boat and you look over, and some of the water is like a light blue, and then some of it is like a dark royal blue. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
And it tastes terrible. It tastes terrible.
I'm not tasting.
You get in water, you taste. Have you gotten in the water?
The way you said it was like
you drank it.
Like you took a shot.
I felt like I did. I fell in the water because it's not. You sometimes you fall.
Of course.
I fall. And water got in my mouth and it tasted terrible.
Right.
That's salt water. It's salt water. They say that's what keeps it clean. The salt is like what purifies it. Yeah, that's what they say. Keeps you from drinking it, I guess. But yeah, I appreciate cruises so much, man. I feel like being in a different environment gives me a different perspective. And even again the cruise to Cuba. At the time when I was really going through a lot of and needing to go through changes, that was really pivotal to me, man.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that water, though. I'm gonna tell you a story. Me and my sister, we went on a cruise, and I got her out of her comfort zone. And we snorkeling, and I'm snorkeling. I got the hang of it, right? Cause I'm like, all right, I got this. I'm doing good, right? Cause like you snorkel, I'm a hood nigga from Youngstown. I don't know nothing about nothing.
I was about to say, wait, did y'all have like the full body suit on?
No, that's scuba diving.
That's okay.
Scuba diving, you gotta like take classes and get licensed and stuff like that.
Oh shit.
Or something, certificate say whatever. A snorkel, you just go get these people like $7, and they give you the joint on your goggles, and then they give you the little snorkel joint.
Okay.
But you get it, and that like you can breathe underwater, right? Mm-hmm. But don't try to go all the way down and breathe underwater because the water get in the snorkel.
Inside the snorkel.
And your ass will drown.
How do you know that?
I heard. So
because you explained it.
So what happened was I'm the first time I ever did it, I'm like doing it, and then I'm forgetting how long the snorkel is. And I'm like, oh, that fish over there look nice. Let me go over there and get closer to it, whatever. And I went down a little bit too far, and the water is just like a little bit of it came. And, I'm breathing it in. I'm like, so I broke. And I shake it out. I'm like, all right, cool. So from that point on, I realized just float on top of the water and look. Right?
On top, man.
So I'm going, and I got the hang of it, right? I'm way out. My sister, she comes out a little bit. I'm proud of her. Shout out to my sister, Shalwa. And I go and I turn around and I'm swimming back to the dock, and I see this fish, and I'm underwater taking pictures with my phone, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture of this fish. Like it was black and yellow, right? So I'm like, this fish representing the Pittsburgh, you know what I mean? Man, I went to take this picture, and as soon as I went to take the picture, the fish shit. Right in my face.
Oh wow! Wait. Do you have to snorkel under the water at this point?
No, not the snorkel.
Okay.
So it didn't get in my mouth.
Okay.
I know where you going, freak.
Okay.
No, me and the fish didn't have that type of relationship. But he swam by, and I'm like this, and right before I took it, he was like, bloop. I was like, you mother.
Did you capture that?
No.
That's good footage. No, that's good footage. How many people do you know have captured a fish taking a shit in the ocean?
I don't know any people that want to capture a picture of a fish taking a shit.
That is a memory, man.
Yeah, it is. Not one I want to put on film. So he kept on going, and I just like made a quick beeline in the water, like, ah!
Because you don't want to walk into it, I guess.
Nah, I didn't want to.
But it's all around you if you think about it.
I didn't think about it until that point. So from that point, I realized that the ocean was just a big fish toilet. So when you talk about the water tastes funny, I'm trying to let you know why. Nah, don't try to clean it up. You was taking shots, okay? You was taking fishbowl shots.
Shots of shit, man. No, I genuinely think.
Did you say
shots of shit? No, shots of shit. No, I've thought about that, bro. I thought about that. Is that why
it's so
the water? people die in that water. It's like
so cruisers are fun.
As long as we got cruises are fun. All right, cool. So, all right. So I kind of want a big part of the retail therapy is I feel like a lot of people know me from Black Tea Brown Sugar, or DJing, or even now as a musician, but not as a person. So I wanted to kind of help people get to know me again by talking about some of the things that I've been through, and also kind of what led me here. Coming from Arkansas. El Dorado, Arkansas, shout out to the Palm. I grew up, and I never know where to start with these. But I do remember, this was in 2000. I think this was probably another pivot moment in my life. My stepfather passed in 2000, and he was kind of the only father figure I knew. And I didn't,
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at the time. Like he was so annoying at like trying to make me grow up, and I realized that he was just trying to love me in ways that my mother couldn't or didn't know how to. Mm-hmm. Like I remember one time I got mad because he used to always call me in to flush a toilet if I forgot to do it. And I'm like, bitch, I'm asleep. Why can't you just do it?
How old was you when he called you?
I was like 8 or 9. Old enough that I should have did it.
I
was a little nasty motherfucker. Yeah.
Right.
But my mother would do it for me. Like so, if my mother came in and it wasn't like she would flush. Like now I look back on it. If I had done it before, my mother would have just flushed it and got it out the way. Right. Where he was trying to teach me, like, hey, if you don't do this, somebody has to do it behind you.
Right.
Come clean up, come flush. And it made me more mindful of like flushing the toilet now. But at the time, I didn't understand that.
So let me ask you this real quick, because I know you said he did some things that your mother either didn't or couldn't. Mm-hmm. What was her relationship like with her dad, if you don't mind me asking?
She didn't have one.
Right. Okay.
Same pattern.
Yeah.
The pattern. I think that's a genuine pattern. The women in my family growing up didn't have healthy relationships with men. I remember, and so that the whole stigma of like men they didn't cuss, but men are dogs. So it was like that was them cussing, and that was like a narrative that was pushed. So it was something that over time I became comfortable with myself. It's like it was a good excuse for me to do the stupid stuff that I did because it's like this is how men are. Like this is what we do because women push us this way.
Men do.
Yeah, I'm doing what men do. I haven't heard anything different. And I remember my mother would always talk about how much she loved my stepfather, like how great he treated her. But also, just like I did with mental health, she did too and didn't know that. Even having my older brother, my mother was raped when she got pregnant with my older brother. That's something I didn't know until after she passed. Mm-hmm. But growing up, when I look back at a lot of situations and I think about how she treated me and the ways that she was always protect women and don't hurt women and don't do this to women and don't do this to women. It was never how to protect myself, how to love myself, how to do for myself. It was always like grooming me to be like this man to be what I need to be for women. Right. And so as I got older, I adapted that same concept to continue to try to save women the same way my mother tried to teach me. And it was never about me. And even with as much as she loved her, I remember there was this time my mom was like, my stepdad drove Greyhound buses. And my mom and my aunt was at the house when I came home from school. And they called the hotel my stepdad was going to and told them that she gave him a fake name and a fake number and was like, tell him to call me when he gets there. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, I guess whatever, listening to this. And then after a while, I hear my mama crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? She was like, he ain't shit. Or nothing. He ain't nothing. He didn't even tell me. I called him and talked to him. He didn't tell me that some girl left the number for him. He must be cheating on me. And called my aunt and stopped talking to my stepdad and went on this whole we about to divorce and I can't do this no more. And I remember
she created.
I remember even calling my stepdad called one time, and it put me in this awkward position because I'm like, I don't know him to do nothing wrong.
Right.
Like even when we
cool.
hang out, I never even seen him flirt with women or anything like that. And so it was like, this is like, I guess, yeah, why would he do this? And then when I talked to him, he was like, man, you know I'd never hurt your mom, right? I was like, well, she ain't here right now. I don't know what to tell you. Because I really didn't know what to say. But I do remember from his heart, he was like, I love your mother. And I was like, man, I didn't know what to say. And it was like situations like that I realized how unhealthy of a relationship or perspective that women in my family have towards men.
But not only that, like you said, she was dealing with mental illness and didn't know.
So
that could have been a part of it too.
Her having my brother and going through that situation and never getting help, because then she became a wife. She married my dad after that, who wasn't the person that did it, but they're trying to make this work, which is both of them a trauma response.
No, when you say dad, are you talking about your stepdad?
My biological.
Your biological.
She married.
Okay.
Yeah, she married my biological father.
Okay.
At that point, and then even the more I know about my biological father and his relationship with my grandmother, like it's very distant. They don't have a healthy relationship, and they blame each other for it.
Is he still alive? What about you and his relationship?
Same. He doesn't understand. He's what I see about myself. I create scenarios in my brain and I run with it. That's what I used to do. Oh. And then so now I think of scenarios, I communicate it, and I realize that I've made it up, and then I create content with it. And I'm like, I don't have to. It's made up shit. Doug funny, that situation with Doug. Doug used to be out and have this dream that he flirt with Patty, and everybody's like boo, and I'm like, Doug, this is what you made. I'm like, shit, that's me. And more importantly, I would talk to my dad, and I'm like, hey Dad, X, Y, Z, and he'd be like 5, 7, 12. I'm like, what are you, like, Dad, are you all right? Like, what do you mean I'm all right? And I'm like, man, this ain't normal. Like, I can't, if this is how he's reacting to like simple stuff, it'll be something simple. Like I'll send him I'll like, Dad, we just got a grant. He'll say something like, well, you can't say the word with women's dick in your mouth. I'm like, and he'll make it biblical. He'll send me a few scriptures and he'll be like, God is this. And I'm like, Dad, you need to heal. But
has he ever tried to save the world?
You say what?
Has he ever tried to save the world?
To do what?
He said you can't say the word.
Have you tried to do it? I don't know.
I'm just saying, you gotta speak from experience, Dad. If you ain't never tried.
You can't talk about experience you ain't never tried before.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
I should ask him, man. Like, have you ever tried? Tell me what you ain't tried before.
I'm just saying, speak from experience, Dad. You know what I'm talking about?
But I'm like, but it's like, in that, I'm like, that's not healthy. That's not a healthy norm. You can't establish a relationship with me because you're hurt and you're broken. And it's like anytime he equates it to money, which is a part of his childhood trauma, I'm like, Dad, I didn't ask you for money. I said we got a grant. Like, I'm not asking you for anything. And he's like, well, people just trying to use me. And I'm like, no, Dad, but he creates these things. And anytime you're trying to like, but it's the same way with my grandma. It's the same way with me for a lot of my life. Well, like I believe it so hard and then I've lived it for so long, I'm so embarrassed to go back on it. That's what I see in my grandma.
So let me ask you this. You say you create these scenarios and then you run with that. Mm-hmm. And it's like you'll create an imaginary scenario and you run with that in real life. Mm-hmm. Do you still do that? Mm-mm. Okay. So when did you recognize that you were doing that in order for you to make that switch?
Seeing other people do it. Seeing my family do it, more importantly.
How long ago did you make that switch?
It's COVID to 2020.
Oh, wow.
This was 2020.
Okay.
This was 2020. 2020 was like I was by myself, and it made me I had to start thinking about why I was by myself. Why am I so alone when I know so many people? It's like it's not that I don't have people in my life. It's the people that I choose to accept in my life that I don't need. Yeah. And then it's like because of these things scenarios that I create, and it could be something as simple. There's this one of my amazing partners, Terrence Verchek. He's the executive director of MRCDC. They was like, hey, we're going to give y'all $10,000 to support what y'all are doing at BTBSN. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I tell the team we're going to do this. He's like, y'all have the check Thursday. I'm like, cool, perfect. We plan around it. Thursday come, we don't hear from him. Friday come, ain't nothing. I'm like, hey, we checking to see what the follow-up. I ain't hear nothing from him. And I got so angry Because I'm like, why the fuck would he do this? And I start talking with my team about it. I'm like, see, these are how people are, blah, 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 blah. And I've never heard back from him. And then when I finally connected with him, he was like, hey, I'm so sorry. We were trying to get the funds. I overcommitted. This is what we want to do for you, but I realized we had funds other places. We had to try to pull around and pull from places. You'll have that check by Monday. And I'm like, thank you, man. Because, but luckily I didn't go off on him.
Right.
Luckily I went off around my team in a space where I could also be like, y'all, this is why we need to start communicating with people.
Yeah.
Because in my brain, I created this scenario where he was this bad guy and he was trying to hurt me. He blah, 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 this is how white people are, blah, 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 all these things we hear. A lot of it sometimes was stuff that I was taught. I grew up hearing that men ain't shit. Yeah. That's already my foundation. And what I've learned more importantly, the more you practice something, Sam, the better you are at it. Aaliyah, my COO, had asked me how long I've been playing the drums. And I was like, shit, 30 years. I've been playing the drums since I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm 36. And it's sometimes that I forget that I don't even call myself a drummer because I haven't had drum lessons and because I don't perform as a drummer. But for 30 years, when I seen a drum set, I would, until I got better and better. And now when people hear me playing, they're like, damn, you're good. I'm like, I'm all right. But no, anything you practice, you're good. And then I also associate that with being like, I'm fine. I grew up for so long not feeling safe enough to communicate how I felt because that got me whoopings. Yeah. That got me in trouble. And then I became an adult where people were like, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm straight. I'm all right.
Let me ask you something. You talked about creating these scenarios and running with them. Can you remember like different scenarios like you just spoke about that one? Did you ever, that one you said you didn't respond to it in a crazy way. Do you remember any time where you did respond in a crazy way, and now that you look back on it, you was like, I created that.
Yeah.
But not only that, did you go back to the person and say, hey, you know what? Remember a couple years back I was snapping on you because X, Y, Z, and ABC. I just wanted to apologize, man. I realized I was at a place in my life where I was creating scenarios and I took it out on you, even though I shouldn't have, because I created that imaginary bullshit. So I just wanted to say I apologize for that.
I think a lot of stuff that I've wanted to do, I haven't done. Like my older brother, and then again, I think about where I want to come back to this question. I want to answer this. I want to take the long route though. So my older brother.
Y'all cool?
Who?
You and your other brother.
Yeah. We have a relationship. Teddy.
Shout out to Teddy.
Theo. But yeah, he's
Theo Huxtable.
That's what I call him. But
shout out to Rock, my big brother too.
You Rock? You say Rock?
Yeah.
Rock. Shout out to Rock. But he was born in the situation that we talked about already. Mm-hmm. A movie I remember watching is Inside Out. And I remember in Inside Out, the baby came out and the dad was like, rally, and showed him so much love. And the very first emotion that came up for her was joy. And anytime something happened in her life, joy was that foundation core memory that helped her get things back on track. Then I think about where a lot of the scenarios that the black people that I know struggle with and where their foundation of what they were born in is. So those core years of learning are so traumatized. At what point can they fantasize about being an artist? Mm-hmm. Or what point do they have the practice playing the piano when you're seeing your mom and dad argue and fight and saying, this baby don't look like me? You got to sit there and wonder, is this my dad for real? Or worrying about, is my uncle going to rape me or my mother going to touch me inappropriately? Like if you have to go through these thoughts as a child, and if this is your situation that you're growing in, when can you develop mentally to be able to be up to par with society?
Yeah.
So I feel like my brother grew up in the midst of a lot of that trauma that nobody knew about. My mother was responding to it and didn't know. My father was responding and didn't know. And my brother was the result of that. So he stayed in trouble a lot. So I grew up seeing my brother in trouble all the time and grounded, getting whoopings to the point where I was just like, I don't want to be like him. I don't want to be in trouble. I love Christmas gifts. I love birthday gifts. Teddy, you can't have this birthday because you did this. Nobody understood why he did what he did. Yeah. Nobody tried to understand him. He just got disciplined for it. I just don't want to get disciplined. Let me just shut up and chill. Let me just mind my business and chill. So even when it came to now to answer your question, to respond to things that would get me in a situation that I don't need to be in, I bit my tongue. And it made me mute myself even more because even where I didn't lash out and go off, I also didn't speak my mind and be like, I don't feel safe or I don't feel comfortable with this.
But are these the things, going back, are these the things, like I said, that you created in your mind?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of them, oh, yeah. Some of them is like, I think this person did this. And where if I didn't feel comfortable enough communicating anything, I would just be like, well, fuck them. And then I would respond. I would respond maybe by my actions more than my words. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I feel like this person don't want me no more because they said they need space. And they must be sleeping with another dude. You know what? Let me go download a Tinder and get on there because clearly she don't want me no more. Let me go find me somebody that do want me. Instead of spending that time, first of all, communicating, or two, just focusing on me. So my actions sometimes, it wasn't like my words. Sometimes I would just go into this survival mode. And it's like, just, I'm going to do for me. I'm going to do what's best for me instead of just communicating with a person.
Yeah.
And
that communication is the key, obviously. Everybody's heard it over the years. I think patience sometimes is another big thing because sometimes you'll say something to somebody or vice versa, and because that person don't want to wait to get the answer that they want, they'll just automatically create their own answer and run with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes, somebody asks you a question, you're like, give me a second, let me think about it. And then it's like, hey, what's going on? Nothing. What you calling me for? I'm just trying to see what's up with you. Oh, I figured you didn't want to talk to me because I asked you that question.
And you didn't answer.
Because I'm like, I'm trying to give you do you want me to give you a surface bullshit answer? Or do you want me to give you something that's real?
Bro, I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever felt like
when somebody, lovely audience,
when somebody asks you a question, when somebody asks you a question, are you a more quicker responder or let me take my time respond? Both. Thank you for that. I was asking specifically because I've seen a post recently that was like, why is it that it takes men such a long time to respond when we're asking questions? And it's like, specifically, it was like men do that, where women are like quick responders. And I was thinking, according to my research and what I've like studied with people, is that I feel like men, I can speak for, let me start with me, Sam. You can tell me if this is relatable. Growing up around women.
You were absolutely wrong.
Growing up around women, I didn't feel heard. I got in trouble when I spoke. So it made me more careful with my words. I'm like, let me make sure I say the right thing. I remember coming home one day, the school, we just had this sex ed day. School gave us like bags of condoms and like STD advice and stuff. I came home, threw it on the bed, left the house. My mom called my friend's house and was like, you need to come home right now. You got condoms in your bed. You are grounded for 2 months. I don't even have condoms in the house. I'm like, hey, Mom, the school, I don't care. Don't tell me. And just, no. I'm like, oh my God. I go home. She's yelling. I just go in my room, shut my door. How can I avoid this in the future? How can I avoid being in a situation with women? And then as I got older, that became what I accepted because it was normal because my mama was like that. So it was, if a woman is yelling at me and treat me like that, it's normal. This is how women are now because that's what I thought. That was my world. Mm-hmm. And so as I got older, if a woman asked me a question, if anybody asked me a question, I began to be like, hold on, let me make sure I don't offend you. Let me make sure I don't say women or females, because we can't, I can't. How can I explain this to you where I don't get attacked? How can I help you understand my perspective and where I also feel safe enough to do it? And I didn't realize that until I was living with Eszquire and Aaliyah, who also worked for me, who I'm also around all the time. When I was like, why am I afraid to communicate with them? Why am I afraid to say something that they may not like? And I was like, shit, because my mama, the women in my family made me afraid if I say something that they don't like, it comes with a consequence. So I'm sitting here in my own brain creating scenarios that if I say this to Eszquire, she's going to quit and not want to be here no more. And when she's like, please communicate with me. Yeah. Just talk to me. And it's like, I didn't realize that I just never felt safe enough to do that.
Right. So as far as me, like, and I'm hearing what you're saying. And the thing about it, you explaining the reason why you do the things you do, it can't be right or wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why you do it.
Right.
I can't tell you if that's right or wrong.
Right.
But I'll say for myself, it depends on the situation, right? So if I'm talking to somebody and I don't feel like you know, we have a deep enough connection, you're not gonna get a deep enough answer. I might give you a surface answer because you could take that and you can go ahead on about your business.
Right, I could dig that.
Because whatever you like or don't like about it, you know, whatever you do doesn't affect my life.
Right,
you know,
right.
If you stop talking to me because I gave you that answer, then you just stop talking to me. I will lose no sleep over it. You know what I mean? But if it's somebody that I have a deeper connection with, I'm gonna take my time with it. You know what I mean? So I want to give you one. I want to give you how I really truly feel about it, so that you can really know. You know, because I feel like when I give that to you, I'm giving you a piece of me. That's a vulnerable place. I'm not gonna be vulnerable with everybody. I've been in relationships where I was like, you know what, I'm older. Let me be a little bit more vulnerable and communicate, because that's what grown folks do. And then, you know, we have conversations, strong conversations, and I'm vulnerable, and I give parts of myself, and I say this and that and that. And then later on, those things that I gave away, they get turned into bullets. And in those arguments or those conversations, they get shot right back at me.
How so?
And so it's like, you know, when you tell somebody how you truly feel, you know, you're giving a part of yourself away. Like I said, you're being vulnerable. Right. So then somebody will take that vulnerability and turn it back on you and be like, well, let me not say this because blah, 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 blah. And then you get in a situation where people want to attack your manhood. You know what I mean? So I realized that being vulnerable doesn't make you weak. And for somebody to take you being vulnerable and turn it around on you to attack your manhood and say, why don't you man up, or da-da-da-da-da, that's just disrespectful. And it shows how weak they are. You know what I mean? Shows how weak they are and how much hurt and pain they have. They're trying to project that onto you.
Absolutely.
Know, when people say hurt people, that's
absolute. Oh yeah, that's absolute.
But
absolute.
You know what happened with me is because once that started happening, I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn these bullets into nails, and it's going to be the nail in your coffin of this relationship, and I'm done with you. You know what I mean? So then from that point on, moving forward, it's like it's so hard to get me to be vulnerable now, because I'm like, why am I going to give you ammunition to use against me?
I have a theory, man,
which I'm not saying is right.
Right. No, that's real. No, that's real. You thanks for sharing that, man. I think what I'm working towards and where I am in life is, I'm like, my story is my story. And that's even part of this with retail therapy. It's like, what can somebody really use against me if it's my information? Like if I tell somebody like I was molested as a child and it makes me struggle with over sexualizing relationships, and you're like, let me not wear this around you because I don't want you to get teased. For me, I'm like, I appreciate that. Where regardless of their intent, I remove emotions from words, and I'm like, there's some people that won't do that. So whether you're being sarcastic, because like you said, it's a reflection of them. Hurt people. And it's something that, there's a situation happening in McKees Rocks that I got so angry about one day, like about a few months ago. And it's something that came in my heart is like, don't let hurt people hurt you. And I was like, shit, if this is the work that I say I want to do, and if I want to be in this field, I need to not take people's hurt personal, because this is why I'm here. And so like I'm trying to practice removing emotions from stuff, because I see how it affects people. My grandma told me when I was little that I was getting fat. I was like, Mom, stop coming over here. And I stopped coming over there because I'm like, my mama ain't never told me this. My mama she ain't got a problem with it. But my grandma was just communicating the observation that if I would have took heed to that I could then, like, where could I have been? And I didn't even notice that until maybe like a year ago, actually.
Like, maybe I wouldn't be fat
I'm
now.
like, yeah, for real. And I'm like, I attach my emotions to it. And then that stuff like that makes me start thinking about how many times in my life I've done that. I remember I was in an Uber driver, I was a passenger in an Uber. And she kept talking to me, I kept trying to like ignore. But she was like, so what brought you to piss? I'm like, all right, let's talk. And I was like, well, I don't believe there's no bad people in this world. That usually triggers people enough to start talking back. And then she was like, oh, let me tell you about what I know, because Pittsburgh is, and she was like, my grandma, my mother, she's like, my mother told me that my husband reminded her of my dad. How you gonna tell me that on my wedding day? You don't say nothing like that. I'm like, why she say it? I don't know, but you don't tell nobody that. I was like, oh, y'all still married? She's like, no, we're divorced. I was like, maybe she's seen the same traits in him that you did. Yeah. Like, maybe asking her would have helped. But she literally, her mother's 93 years old. This was like 25 years ago. She has not talked to her mom since because her mom said that. I was like, you don't know why she said it? She's like, that don't matter. You don't tell nobody that. I'm like, man, and I'm like, man, how many times have I emotionally attached what somebody told me and got angry? I was talking to somebody else. And she was talking about how she don't talk to her grandma. And I was like, why not? She was like, my grandma, I brought my baby to my grandma one day, and when I first had her, and my first thing my grandma told me is, I didn't think I'd be alive to see this. I snatched my baby so quick and left. Like, how you gonna tell me that? I was like, why she say that? I don't know, but you don't tell nobody that. I'm like, wait. Maybe she didn't think she'll be old enough to see her grandchildren. Why don't you talk? I'm not talking to her. And then they feel like this for so long that now the thought to go back and be like conversation, that takes so much accountability. One of the things,
and they're not gonna do that.
It's so scary. Me being molested, me realizing that, me being sexually assaulted as a child, and to protect myself and my psyche, I normalized it. Because when I told people, it was like, oh, you had sex with such and such, you with the fat ass, blah, 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 blah. Like, I guess, yeah. Even though I told her to stop, even though I kept moving her hand, even though all this stuff happened, I'm like, well, I guess this is normal for me. To the point where I remember when I was in high school, this girl, one of my great, amazing childhood friends came over, because our mothers was also really cool. And the same situation happened. We was in the room, I was kissing her. I started putting my hand down her pants. She's like, stop. I was like, come on. She was like, stop. I'm like, come on. The same shit that happened to me. And then she just let me do it. And I didn't realize that until, again, 2020, when I start reflecting on a lot of my decisions. And I was like, shit. She asked me to stop just like I asked the person to stop. I had to call her. I remember telling my friend, one of my childhood friends, Ray, I was like, bro, do you remember such and such in high school? Because he was at the house that time when it happened. And I told him what happened. He was like, oh, man, that's what's up, bragging about it. I was like, bro, I think I sexually assaulted her, man. She asked me to stop, and I didn't stop.
What did she say when you called her?
I was like, I'm going to call her. And he was like, bro, if you call her, you're going to go to jail. I was like, that can't be my concern. Because if I did this to her and I hurt her and she's living with this, we need to talk about it. And that's when I also realized me and him probably weren't going to be friends much longer, because I'm like, man, if this is perspective when I'm trying to heal and grow, this ain't gonna work. So I called her and I was like, hey man, do you have some time to chat? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you remember this time we was in the room, we was hanging out? And she started crying. And she was like, yes, I was wondering why you did that. I was like, so, and it separated us having that conversation. I was explaining to her that this is my norm, and this is what happened to me growing up, and this is my childhood. And she understood, like, that, to have that conversation provided a lot of healing. Because for her, she didn't know why. She seen me just like a lot of people see me, and it's like, this is a perfectly normal person.
So how did she respond to you calling her? And I'm assuming you apologized.
Yeah.
So how did she respond to that?
She received it. She was crying. She received it. She appreciated the conversation, because, again, for her, in her brain, she was like, why would this perfectly normal person do this? So me starting to have conversations with people to help them understand what I've go through and what I've been through started helping things click for her too, because a lot of stuff didn't make sense. It wasn't just that. It was like a lot of things. She was like, I didn't know why you were never at home. I didn't know why a lot of these things was happening. I was so confused, but that's why she was trying to be my friend too, because she seen what I was struggling. Yeah. But she didn't know why, because it seemed like I'm a normally functioning person.
And that's one of the things, like going back to that, like you said, that situation happened and you reached back and you called her. That's what I was asking before, is when I was saying, when you make up these created imaginary scenarios and you lash out at somebody, do you go back and be like, hey, you know what? Pam, there was a time when, I snapped out on you because blah, 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 blah. And I realized that I made that up in my head. And I just wasn't trying to hear nothing you were saying, because I was so gung-ho about you were definitely doing X, Y, Z, that no matter what you said, I wasn't going to believe it. And now that I realize, that, I've grown, I got more mature and realized what my issue was, I know that I was doing that in the wrong way to you. I don't want to just say I apologize to you because of that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, man, people don't understand it, like how important that is. Once you realize that, you go through some things in life and you messed up, and then you reach back to somebody and say, hey, I apologize. Just wanted to let you know I apologize, blah, blah, blah. And then they can accept your apology or not, but at least you did what you were supposed to do.
Absolutely.
You know what
Like,
I mean?
I had to let go of the fear of, like, the acceptance phase. Like, I had to, what's up, Margo? I had to stop worrying about how people felt, how people would feel. And I had to start literally worrying about, like, me healing. And I was like, I don't feel like I can't be who I desire to be if I can't hold myself accountable. And accountability is beyond me just being like, I'm not going to do that no more for me. It was like literally reaching out and talking to people, being like, to be like, hey, this is something I did out of not knowing. Yeah. And some people don't want to talk to me. There's some people that are mad at me to this day. That's like, fuck this nigga. Like I've reached out to my frat brothers, like, hey man, can you connect me with Christina? He's like, bro, she don't want to talk to you. Right. Like, I gotta accept that and respect that, because everybody's on a different path, man. And a lot of people again know me for who I was in my hurt. Some people get that whatever I did in my hurt, whatever I did in my mental health, whatever I did and what I've learned, it's like, I can't believe, especially if you already associate niggas ain't shit. I was talking to somebody earlier who was saying that his mom didn't grow up saying that niggas wasn't shit. His mom grew up saying that, hey, black men go through a lot and have been taken out of the home because of the system, like really explaining how things have shaped for families to be broken apart, and wasn't blaming the black man, wasn't blaming the black woman, but helping him understand the system. And now what he does right now is a CEO of a company that is able to really navigate and connect and help people because he's not coming with a perspective that bitches ain't shit or niggas ain't shit. And I'm like, that's something I had to learn over life. I went my whole life being like, man, these bitches ain't shit because of the women that I chose. And it's like, because of the bitches that I chose. Right. And it was like, no, it's not. It's and again, 2020 being by myself really helped me sit back and be like, man, what is it about these women that I've only sexualized, that I've only pursued sex with, that I'm claiming ain't shit?
And why do you keep picking this specific guy? Yeah.
My mother.
Yeah.
And for me, it goes back to my mom.
And just thinking about, going back, man, there was a time where I remember reading the book, the 5 Love Languages, and I was reading that book, and I was like, wow. I started thinking about like some past situations and relationships and stuff like that, and there was a situation, rather a relationship that I was in, and I really, really thought I was that dude. You know what I mean? And one of the reasons why I thought I was that dude is because she told me I was that dude. She was like, you treat me better than anybody I've ever been with before. And I was like, yeah. So I'm thinking I'm a 10. You know what I mean? And like when I'm thinking about the things that I'm doing for her, like I'm like, okay, cool. She's like, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. Nobody's ever done that for me, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, hell yeah. And then I started thinking about those 5 love languages. And I'm like, well, now that I realize that her love language is this, I didn't do that. You know what I mean? So I was loving her in the way that I received love, like acts of service and different things like that. But she needed words of affirmation. And I might have gave her words of affirmation to begin with, but it wasn't constant. So the way that I am, I'm such a bottom line person. Like if I tell you I love you, I mean that. And it don't have like an expiration date on it. But some people, and I'm saying people, they need to hear that over and over and over again. If I tell you I think that you're beautiful, I mean that. There ain't no expiration date on that. You know what I mean? But some people need to hear that over and over. So I realized that I was loving her the way that I received love, which she was like, yeah. And she told me, she was like, you was dope because you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. Not one time did she say, I felt love from you because you said blah, 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 blah. And that was her love language, was words of affirmation. Now here I am telling her, well, listen, this is how I'm gonna love you. You got to take it or leave it. With that arrogant type shit, you know what I mean? And because I'm like, you told me I was the best. If I'm the best, then you can't get no better than that, right? But what I didn't understand was, if she was getting loved by men who was loving her on a 2 scale, and I'm the best thing that she had, and I'm loving her on a 3 scale, we got 7 more scales to go. But I'm the best that she ever had at a 3. You understand what I'm saying? So there was a lot of room that I could have grew, but I'm thinking you told me I was the best, so I ran with that. So I hit her up. I was just like, hey, I just want to let you know, man, I apologize. Like, I know I didn't do anything, to you in a negative way. I didn't put my hands on you, none of that other crazy stuff like that. But I feel like I did leave a lot on the table as far as loving you the way that you receive love. And I just wanted to apologize to you, but I didn't know that at the time. But now that I know, when they say you knew better, you do better. Right. So I knew better, some years down the line. And I went back and, I just reached back to tell her I apologize and stuff like that. She was like, it's all good. She's like, we both were young. She's like, I'm pretty sure I left some stuff on the table. Right. And, it wasn't my place to say yes or no, you did or not.
I have had conversations where I've reached back out and was like, this was like, I was on some bullshit. So I guess, as you say in your story, that makes sense. I have like I was on some bullshit, and it's been chunked up to being like, we were both young. We ain't know no better. But I don't think, cause even now, where I'm like, I will never try to change a woman, and I never want to be changed, because you can't change people. You can influence change, but you can't change people. Me traveling has helped me realize there are billions of people in this world. And there are people out here that will accept you for who you are if they understand who you are and why you are who you are. But I feel like when people are pursuing relationships, that begins to, it's, for me, when women are coming at me like, I want to be in a relationship with you, I'm interested in a relationship, then it comes with expectations. It's like, why aren't you doing this? And not like as a question of understanding, but as a question of, as an expression of judgment. Because because usually a nigga would do this, or this is what you should be doing this. Even if it comes with my time, it's like, why aren't we spending time together instead of trying to understand who I am and what I'm doing? And it's like, and it was the same thing for me. If I'm chasing sex with this person or chasing a relationship, it was hard for me to understand who this person was, what this person had going on, what this person was really going through. And if whatever they was talking about, if it didn't have to do with the agenda of what I was pursuing, then I didn't want to hear it. Right. If what I was talking about didn't have to do with marriage or relationships, like, why do you keep talking about your business? Like, because this is my life. Yeah. But if somebody doesn't, and I can't change people in that perspective, and I don't try to anymore, because I'm like, there are people that's like, I want to understand more about you. And the more I'm in situations where I feel like I have to contour or change myself, and again, I don't try to change the women. If a woman is like, I don't like fat dudes, or I'm big, whatever it is, I'm like, that's what's up. Yeah, that's dope. Can't be perfect. That's dope. And everybody's perfect in their own right, I believe, man. Right. I feel like everybody's perfect in their own right. And I
ain't got taste that's on her. You know what I'm saying? Period.
For real. So I that's something like I feel like even in the world, if I ever decide to get married again, man, if I ever decide to be in a relationship again, if I ever decide to settle down again, like, I want it to be so much peace. And I don't think that is something that's gonna come from being like, hey, you're cute, and hey, you look good, or hey, you got money, or hey, this is what you drive.
What's your favorite color, girl?
Like, that's not gonna happen that's gonna come from a process of being like, hey, I see you struggling, are you good? And for them to be like, I'm straight, that's not a relationship I want, and I'm not gonna force you to talk to me. But if somebody's like, yeah, this is what I want to talk, I love communication. I love when I'm like, what are you going through? And you're like, this is what's wrong. Like, that only projects us to another level. That only connects us. And more importantly, as friends, we can do that as the base foundation of friendship.
Got to.
And I don't have to change you. But if I'm trying to date you, why don't you just talk to me? Bitch, I don't know you. Nigga, I don't know you. That makes sense. Right. Like you said, you can open yourself up according to how deep we are. Yeah. Like, stick around a little bit and I'll tell you what you need to know. Yeah. But that takes time. Yeah. That takes time. And more importantly, you have to understand you. If I'm sitting here asking, like, kids would do something, and I realize this with kids. Now, I realize this with adults, too. But you can ask somebody you can ask me why I did something. And you got to give me some time. Like, why did I just say you a funky bitch? Like, I I could have worded that differently. That's real.
Funky dog.
Like, yeah. And it's like, let me process. And then if you give me some time, I'll give you the exact answer you need to know. But that's not going to happen in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And sometimes that happens with kids. You be like, why'd you do this? And they're like,
Because Shell did it?
Yeah. And a lot of times that's legit.
Right.
And if you don't learn anything different, and if it comes with an attack, it's hard to pivot and move around it.
Yeah.
Man.
The thing about it, man, like sometimes people don't understand that, like you were saying, you can't change people. You know what I mean? You can influence change, and I dig that. But some people don't have that in them. Some people don't have that patience. You know what I mean? Some people's like, okay, I'm going to be with him. He cool. But there's these 4 things about him that I'm going to change. Or I'm going to be with her. She cool. But, man, if I could just get her to X, Y, Z, and ABC, she'd be perfect.
And I bet every single time a person that's saying that is something about themselves they don't accept.
Right, absolutely.
And it's
absolutely.
like, and which is why, again, if that's how a person feels, why are you looking for a relationship? That's my theory. If I don't accept me, if I can't love me, how can I teach somebody how to love me?
Right.
How does somebody else? Because however I treat myself, and I learned that about my studio. There's sometimes I walk over trash. Caden, I've seen you walk over trash. I've seen the kids walk over trash. I'm like, no, this makes sense. If I do it,
they watching you.
I'm teaching them.
And I remember people talking about, there was a story about a lady walking around in the woods, and she tripped over a stick. She got up and looked, and it wasn't a stick, it was a frozen snake. So she took it back to her cottage, and she put it in front of the fire, and it started moving a little bit. She gave it a little mouse to eat. It ate the mouse, and she's sitting up there knitting and crocheting, and the snake comes up. She said, hey, Mr. Snake, I do see you're doing better. Good. The snake looked at her and bit her. She snatched him, threw him on the ground. She was like, why would you bite me after everything I've done for you? And the snake was like, bitch, you knew I was a snake when you met me. So a lot of people don't understand, like you said, you can't change people. People are who they're going to be. So if you know, like I got a lot of friends, and I got a lot of friends who they might not be, none of them are perfect, but there's certain things about each and every one of them that I just expect them to be a certain way. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. I'm going to love you for who you are, right? So in relationships, you got to realize that whoever you with, you have to love them for who they are, right? And if you can't love them for who they are with those flaws, and it's the flaws that I'm talking about, then you can't be with that person. Like, I got flaws, you know what I'm saying? I'm a big dude. That's
what flaws do you have, man?
Huh?
I'm curious. What flaws?
It's not being big. But no, like
what flaws do you say you have?
Like I don't know. I ain't dating myself. No,
I'm curious, man.
For me, like I said, it's hard for me to open up about certain things.
Okay.
And for me being single for so long, it's like I have to change my mindset. You know what I mean? And it's like I give you a prime example. Good friend of mine, Gary, he got married, and like maybe a week after he got married, he got up and went to the gym. His wife hit him up like, "Where you at?" He was like, "I'm at the gym," and she was like, "Why didn't you ask me? Did I want to go?" He was like, I realized that I'm so used to just getting up, getting my stuff together, and going to the gym. I'm not used to asking somebody, "Do you want to go to the gym with me?" I'm just used to doing that. And for me, it's like, okay, I've been single for so long, I'm not used to incorporating somebody in my life and having to say, "Hey, let's go do this," or "Do you want to go do that?" Or you hit me up like, "Hey man, why don't you come help me paint the studio?" And I'm like, "All right, I'll be there Saturday." And then I get off the phone and it's like, "So we're not gonna go to the museum Saturday?" What are you talking about?
I feel like that's
I was going to ask you about going to the museum Saturday, but I didn't get a chance because you told your guy, and so now we can't even go because I didn't know nothing about no museum on Saturday. Well, you would have if you would have, you know. And it's one of them things where, as a man, for me, let me speak for me. I can't speak for nobody else, but for me, realizing that it doesn't make me a simp to say, "Hey babe, S asked me to help him paint the studio Saturday. Did you have something that you wanted to do Saturday that we was gonna do, or not? Because if not, then I'm gonna go help him paint. But if you did, then I'm gonna let him know that I got plans already. There's nothing simpish about that.
And that's the journey, though.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like,
just
I feel like,
incorporating that person in your life. And but like I said, but because I've been single for so long, like Gary, I just woke up and did it.
Right.
You know, I didn't have to
Right.
think about nobody. So then when you make that transition in your life where it's not just you anymore, it's two of y'all, and y'all, you know, you got to come together and incorporate that person in your life. That, man, listen, that thing takes time.
Yeah, I was about to say,
understanding.
I feel like that's the journey, man. Because it's like if you meet somebody, and to ask, to me, that's a simple question. Hey, why didn't you invite me? That opens up an opportunity for connection to be like, man, I've been so single for so long, I sometimes forget, babe.
Right, but
hey,
let me say this. You also have to be with somebody who will say, well, how come you didn't invite me? Because that conversation can be totally different, right? Now that's Friday. I didn't told Eszquire I'm gonna help him on Saturday. So Friday, that conversation can be like, hey, why didn't you ask me, did I have anything for us planned to do? I'm like, dang, my bad. Well, let me ask you this. Did you have something planned for us to do? Well, no, but I'm just saying in the future, all right, cool, no problem, I got you. So just to make sure I'm cool going there, right? It's cool, we ain't got nothing going on. Yeah, that's fine, but just think about me next time. No problem, I got you, right? We good. Friday night, we might go have some tacos and have a couple of drinks, and it's a good night. Saturday, I go help S, everything's good. Friday night, yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, so you just gonna do what you wanna do and ain't gonna include me, huh? So you don't give a damn what we doing Saturday night. So I made plans for this and that, and you kidding? What?
But see, will you not learn this as friends, though?
Well, that's the problem. Well, not necessarily the problem, but sometimes when you get into a relationship, there's growing pains and there are things that you learn as time go by. This might just be one of the things that you learn as time goes by. And that conversation on Friday night could make or break the whole weekend.
See, this is where I used to go wrong with relationships. Relationships with people. I used to feel like I was special. And I used to feel like this person did this to me because this situation happened. Now I'm learning that people just have personality traits.
Do you feel like you're still special?
Oh yeah, I'm special.
Okay.
But this person don't know me, because if this person knew how special I was, they wouldn't respond the way they respond.
Got it.
So it's like, no, we don't know each other, but I see this person getting mad. This person can't have a healthy conversation. I feel like as friends, I learn more of that because they talking about other people. When they're like, man, this bitch was looking at me funny. Did you ask her why? No, fuck that bitch.
Right. Maybe she blind in one eye and cockeyed in the other one.
To me, that's ground for friendship.
Right.
Nothing in my mind is like, I want to get her pregnant. Nothing in my mind is like, we want to have a baby or I want to have sex with her. I want to date her. In my adult mind, my childish mind, I'm sure I would have made up a reason.
Right.
In my adult mind, I'm like, no, this is ground for friendships where now I know, because if we're in a relationship and I do something that you don't agree with, how can I trust you to come to me? How can I trust you to practice knowing what to say when there's adversity? When as a friend, I'm learning that you struggle. Yeah. And as a friend, I can support that, but I don't have to change you because maybe you're comfortable with it. Maybe you're like, no, I'm good yelling at motherfuckers. Shut up. And I'm like, that's real. So we friends sometime. We can come to each other's events. We can support each other. But for me, that's as far as the cap goes because I don't have to change this person. This person doesn't have to change me.
Right.
That's friendship.
But then when you get deeper into the relationship, it's a whole nother level.
I haven't met somebody whose personality was their personality all the time and the situation changed them. Unless they're changing for a situation. So that's something, again, as friends, we learn. I have friendships with people that I know everything about or a lot of stuff about. But I have people that I've dated that I hardly know anything about.
Yeah.
And I just have stuff that I've judged them, scenarios that I've made up in my mind or mad at how our relationship turned out. When again, if I look back on it, I have never learned how to have healthy friendships. I've never learned how to have healthy relationships with people. I was talking to my intern and he came to me, he was like, man, I want to start dating, but I don't know where to start because every time I see a beautiful girl, I get anxiety. I was like, well, in my perspective, that's where you're going wrong. You're basing your interest in a person by the way they look. And from history, I keep learning that doesn't work for anybody. I was like, why don't you just get to know people? Maybe the desire for connection is just relationships that you desire with people. So continue to connect with people. And he's never even thought of that. This was like 2 months ago. He went to this Japanese camp and connected with all these Japanese people that he came back so excited about. He's connected with so many people that a relationship is no longer in his forefront of his mind because he's understanding how much impactful these relationships that he has now is forming. And then now he gets to understand and see people and where they struggle and where he struggled. And he was like, how can I talk to people when I have, he's like, I have issues, attachment issues. He's like, when I meet a woman, when I meet a girl, I have issues getting really attached to her really quick. And I was like, well, that's where you start with friendship. You meet people and you be like, hey, I want to have a friendship because I have attachment issues. Because when people run from that, if they try to make you feel bad for who you are, you don't feel bad with them, but understand that's not the friendship for you, and be grateful that you're not in a relationship with them. Because now you are establishing friendships with people who understand what you struggle with and they support you where you struggle. I don't run from what I go through no more because that is where that's where I find my support system. When before I would try to hide all the stuff. I wouldn't talk about being molested because that shit was embarrassing. But the more I didn't talk about it, the less I seen how it affected me, the less I connected with people that it happened to them and seeing how it affected them. And the less it just kept me not talking about what I've been through had made everything I went through less purposeful. And so now it's like everything, and it's not a bad thing. What my mother went through, what my mother had to go through, I commend her because she chose me. She chose to be a mother. There are parents that dump their kids in the trash can. There's parents that kill their kids. There's parents that beat their kids' ass. I stole my mama's car. And when I was, 14, because she wouldn't teach me how to drive. And I totaled that motherfucker. Oh. No, I didn't total it. She got it fixed. But, man, I wrecked it. And I felt so bad afterwards, man. And I remember, I remember, because I kept asking her to teach me how to drive. And she wouldn't. She would not teach me. And she kept chasing these men. She kept chasing these relationships. So I was like, if I want a woman like my mother, I need to be like these men that she's chasing, and I need to find a way, and I got to get a car, because all these men got cars. I got to find, and then I started trying to pursue and be with, to fill that intimacy void that I was now feeling, that she was giving to these men, because she was fulfilling the void, because when my stepfather died, again, my mother went from being a kid, getting raped, to being a mother, being a wife, then being a mother, having jobs, never took time for herself, never went to counseling, never healed. My mother was an incredible interior designer. She was designing for the mayor in El Dorado, for all these big political, she was talented. But drowning the trauma of stuff that she went through, where she didn't feel safe enough to talk about, where she didn't get help from, it killed her. So every time something happened, she tried to rely on faith, when she didn't have anything else to keep her up. And she didn't know she didn't love herself through that.
Let me ask you this. How much therapy have you went through?
Hours?
Sure. Or do you would you say I went through a lot of therapy?
I'll say I went through a moderate amount of therapy.
Okay.
I didn't realize
how do you feel like it has changed you or affected you in what way?
I think my awareness of who I am, it helped me understand myself and the decisions that I was making, and how much power I had over my own life.
So having said that, are there some tangible changes that you've made because of that?
Yeah, accountability.
Okay.
Man, I'm a beast in Madden. I'm the best Madden player. And
in Madden?
Madden.
Okay.
It's in Madden, on the PlayStation. Caden, have you ever seen me lose in Madden? Playing online? I'm a beast in Madden.
Play your therapist in Madden?
I would. I'm a beast. I'm telling you, but this is why I'm good. And I didn't notice. My childhood friend Ray, we grew up playing Madden together, and they used to beat my ass all the time. And at not one point in time did I ever be like they were better than me. I was like, okay, I threw a bad pass. Or damn, I shouldn't have ran this play. Let me pick another play. And as I got better, my friend would always be like, man, they keep making the Steelers good on this game. Or man, they gave Ben Roethlisberger this crazy arm. Or just it was always something he would make up for the game.
Right.
As I continue to be like, I just need to throw better with Ben. I need to find a better way so accountability. And I bring up Madden because I realize even now, when I'm playing Madden and I'm talking to people who are like, this is the game's fault, or this is this fault, those are the people that I'm blowing out. People that's like, I threw a bad pass, or that accountability, even within the things that we love doing, has helped people improve, and it's helped me. So now my relationships with people, when my business, everything, I'm holding myself accountable because I realized that's the only way I can grow.
Dig
Because when I blame everybody else, when I'm blaming Jade for shitting inside the studio, when I'm like, no, I should have got her earlier and let her out. She's a dog. I can't get mad at the dog for being a dog. I can't get mad at my landlord for asking for money when he's about business. He don't give a fuck about these kids. He told me that.
Right.
But he's like, do you have rent? So I can't get mad at him for showing me who he is because he's not who I want him to be.
Go back to that snake.
So that
you know I was a snake when you met me.
So therapy has helped me take control over my actions. To be like, if there's something that I want and I don't have, it's because I'm not working towards it.
That accountability factor is so strong because people will find ways to blame everybody but themselves because of whatever happens. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, no, you know, and I can honestly say I've been there. You know what I mean?
Same. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, I would have been at work if traffic wouldn't have been. Yeah, but if you would have left your house 30 minutes earlier, you wouldn't have had to worry about it. Or this could have happened if this person didn't, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'll give you a prime example. I was scrolling through stuff and I was listening to this video, and R. Kelly was on the phone with somebody, and he was telling them how one of the COs at the prison went in his email, and there was recordings in his email between him and his lawyer. She sent the recordings to her Gmail, her own personal Gmail account, and then sent them to Tasha K, right? So Tasha K somehow...
Who's Tasha K?
Some blogger,
okay.
social media person.
Okay.
And let me just say this, allegedly, right? So, so Tasha K somehow gets it to the prosecutors. The prosecutors, he was saying something like, I'm not going to break up with girlfriend A to be with girlfriend B. Prosecutors got that audio tape to girlfriend B and was like, he ain't going to leave her for you. This is what he's saying right here, amongst some other stuff. So girlfriend B was responsible for like 95% of the prosecution's case against R. Kelly. He's like, man, if that correctional officer wouldn't have went in my email and got those, that was illegal, which it could have 100% been, right? You ain't supposed to go in there and do that. You shouldn't have sent that to Tasha K. You shouldn't have sent it to your own Gmail. She shouldn't have done none of that. So let's just say, for the sake of the argument, she was 100% wrong for doing all of that. That's not why you in here, bro. You in here because you opened your mouth and said, you know, I'm not leaving girlfriend A for girlfriend B. Let's go back. If you only had girlfriend A, there was no girlfriend B. When she got those audio tapes and sent it to the prosecution, what was they going to do?
But help your case.
They couldn't do nothing because now there's no bullets. He didn't want to take accountability and say, damn, if I only had one chick, I wouldn't have had to worry about none of this. But he's not going to do that. He's going to put the blame to somebody else. So it goes back to what you were saying as far as accountability. People don't want to take accountability. He's going to blame that correctional officer until he get out of jail when he's 87.
I'm telling you, it's that fear. It's that fear. People fear consequences. I told my team that there's no such thing as discipline. People fear discipline. There's no such thing as discipline. Life gives consequences. You don't show up for work, you get replaced naturally because you're somebody that wants to be here. And so that's why I'm like, accountability, because I can explain anything to you now. If you ask me, why do I have 3 girlfriends? I'm like, that's my choice, but I also move with pure intent where it's like all 3 of them know who they are.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to blast me or tell my business, you can't do nothing but help my case because all 3 of my girlfriends are going to show up and be like, okay, we know this already. So it's like, for me, accountability has allowed me to move with pure intent. It's like, if I can't tell this to the people that I care about, if I can't live with it, then I don't do it. If I can't live with it, if I can't explain it, if I can't talk about it, then why am I choosing to do it?
Yeah.
And that's what adulthood is for me right now.